Martell completely breaks down after Melody's courtroom proof leaves everyone in shock. This wasn't just another day inside those four walls. It felt more like the climax of a storm that had been building for years, one that fans, family, and even critics had been watching from the sidelines. Outside the courthouse, the buzz was already deafening. People had their phones out, reporters were circling like hawks, and whispers traveled faster than the wind. Everyone sensed that something huge was about to happen, but nobody expected the blow to land this hard. And when it did, Martell wasn't just shaken, he was completely broken. Let's take it back, because to understand the intensity of this moment, you need to know the history. Martell and Melody's story has been anything but simple. What started as a love story full of promise turned into one of the most painful, public unravelings we've seen on reality TV. Their marriage had cracks that the cameras could barely capture, and once betrayal entered the picture, those cracks became deep, unfixable fractures. Cheating, lies, and the weight of fame pushed them into battles that went far beyond the show. The custody fights weren't just about the children. They were about control, ego, and pride. Martell always prided himself on being the one in charge. He liked to walk into rooms with his chest out, speaking as if he already had the final word. And in many ways, he believed the courtroom would be no different. For him, this wasn't just about parenting, it was about reshaping the narrative. He wanted the world, and more importantly, the judge, to see Melody as distracted, too focused on her career, too wrapped up in cameras and social media to be fully present for the kids. To him, this was his moment to turn everything upside down. When Martell arrived that morning, the swagger was obvious. He nodded at people like he was about to deliver the performance of his life. His team came armed with screenshots, schedules, and accusations designed to paint Melody as absent. From the outside, you might have thought he had a strong case. But here's the twist: what Martell didn't prepare for was Melody's quiet strength. She wasn't there to perform. She wasn't there to fight with drama. She came armed with something far more dangerous: proof. The shift began the moment Melody entered. Calm, composed, almost radiant in her confidence, she carried herself like a woman who knew she was about to change the entire conversation. She didn't shout, she didn't make scenes. She waited. Her lawyer moved with precision, pulling out documents that weren't just statements, they were receipts. School attendance records. Teacher notes. Character letters. Even testimony from those who had seen her with her children, day in and day out. Every single piece of evidence told a story, and together they painted a picture of a mother who was present, consistent, and deeply involved. The courtroom leaned in as her side spoke. The air got heavier. Martell, who had been all smiles earlier, started shifting in his seat. His lawyer fumbled through rebuttals, but none of it stuck. And just when people thought Melody had already sealed her victory, her lawyer pulled out something unexpected: a new set of documents. That's when everything flipped. The judge's expression changed almost instantly. Reporters in the back stopped writing. Even Martell froze, his usual smirk disappearing as he realized what was happening. These weren't just any papers. They directly contradicted his entire argument. His claims that Melody was too busy for the kids were shredded in front of everyone. The proof showed consistency, timelines that matched, and involvement that couldn't be denied. It wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a takedown. For the first time, Martell didn't have words. The man who had spent years calling Melody out on every platform possible suddenly had nothing to say. His confidence cracked in real time, and the silence said more than any statement ever could. Witnesses later said you could almost feel the embarrassment rolling off him. His shoulders slumped, his eyes darted to his lawyer for answers, but none came. The judge didn't waste time. Looking straight at Martell's attorney, he asked a sharp question: "Is this really the foundation of your argument?" That one line cut through the entire show Martell had tried to put on. The courtroom stayed dead silent, every eye fixed on the moment. Martell's lawyer stammered, but the damage was done. Everyone could see it: Melody had walked in prepared to end this once and for all. When the ruling came down, it wasn't dragged out. The judge dismissed Martell's request without hesitation. But then came the part that shook the entire room. The judge turned directly to Martell and said, "Mr. Holt, this courtroom is not a stage for your personal battles. The well-being of your children comes first, not your ego." That line hit harder than anything else that day. Martell looked stunned, his face tight, his usual composure gone. He didn't even glance at Melody. He just sat there, blinking fast, like he couldn't process what just happened. And the ripple effect? Immediate. Melody walked out of the courthouse with her mother behind her, calm and proud. She didn't need to put on a show, the proof had spoken for her. Cameras flashed, fans cheered, and her quiet confidence carried her through the crowd. Meanwhile, Martell stormed out moments later, avoiding eye contact, moving so quickly his lawyer had to catch up. His silence told the whole story. Online, the reactions exploded. Hashtags like Melody won and Sit Down Martell trended within hours. Clips of the courtroom circulated, TikTok edits showed Martell's face when the new evidence dropped, and Twitter threads praised Melody for her grace under fire. Fans didn't just celebrate her victory, they saw her as a symbol of strength, a reminder that receipts and truth will always outshine ego and lies. But for Martell, the fallout was brutal. Supporters turned critical, fans dragged him, and even neutral viewers started calling him out. The narrative he tried to spin had collapsed in front of everyone, and now he had to face the truth. This wasn't about image anymore. It was about the children. And in that courtroom, Melody made it clear she never lost sight of that. Martell's breakdown wasn't just about losing the case, it was about realizing that his old tactics no longer worked. He couldn't charm his way out, couldn't manipulate the storyline, couldn't bend the truth to fit his version. Melody had shut it all down, and in doing so, she changed the dynamic for good. This wasn't just a courtroom victory. It was a reminder. A reminder that when the noise fades, when the performances end, the truth still matters. And in this battle, Melody proved that the truth is always louder than ego. And when all the cameras were packed away, and the crowd outside the courthouse slowly faded, the weight of what had just happened truly set in. Melody didn't walk away with just a legal win, she walked away with her peace, her dignity, and her children's stability. For years, she had been painted as everything but the truth. She was called distracted, accused of being absent, and targeted in ways no mother should ever have to face. But inside that courtroom, she finally silenced all the noise. Martell, on the other hand, had to face a reality he never expected. The image he built, the confidence he carried, all of it came crashing down the moment the proof hit the table. For once, there were no interviews, no social media rants, no clever spin that could undo what the judge had seen. He left that courtroom not only defeated, but exposed. The world saw the difference between a man desperate to control the story and a woman who stood firm in the truth. That contrast was undeniable. And for the fans who followed their journey from the start, it felt like a turning point. Melody had proved that no amount of rumors or staged narratives could overshadow facts. So, what comes next? That's the question everyone's asking. Will Martell finally accept the reality and put his children first? Or will he double down, searching for another way to pull Melody back into his chaos? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, after this courtroom battle, Melody has shown she's not just surviving. She's thriving, standing tall as both a mother and a fighter. And the world will never look at this story the same way again. As the courthouse emptied and the noise outside finally died down, the truth of what unfolded became impossible to ignore. Melody hadn't just defended herself, she had reclaimed her power. She left the building calm, collected, and stronger than ever. This was more than a courtroom victory. It was a statement that no rumor, no scheme, and no manipulation could erase the truth about who she was as a mother and as a woman. Martell, however, walked away with his head low, carrying the weight of defeat on his shoulders. For years, he had fought to control the narrative, to make himself look untouchable. But when the evidence came to light, everything changed. His silence said more than words ever could. The man who once shouted on every platform suddenly had nothing left to say. People watching that day saw the difference clearly. Melody didn't need theatrics. She didn't need to fight with anger. She had walked in with quiet confidence, prepared with facts, and walked out with the judge's respect. That was a kind of strength no one could take away from her. The impact of that moment stretched far beyond the courthouse walls. Fans, critics, even castmates felt the shift. Melody wasn't just surviving the chaos anymore, she was rising above it. She showed everyone that resilience isn't loud, it's steady. It's the kind of strength that doesn't waver, even under attack. So where does this story go from here? Will Martell finally face his mistakes, or will he keep chasing battles he can't win? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Melody left that courtroom not just with proof, but with a legacy of grace, strength, and truth that no judgment could ever erase.